All right, welcome to Smokey Approved Korea. I'm your boy journalist, and on this one, we are here to check out another video from Boris City Magazine. Shout out to them for putting these videos together. This one is going to be BTS versus Spotify. I've done the radio one so far. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna do. I think there's a fandom one that's left as well that you guys wanted me to check out from Boris City. So I will be checking that one out. So watch out for that one. That being said, if you would like to please hit that like, subscribe. Patreon is in the description box. We currently have a lot of exclusive content over there at the Patreon. Be it Korean dramas and television shows, a couple of videos from BTS that I can't get on to YouTube. So if you want to see any of that stuff, please do tap into the Patreon. That being said, let's get into this and see what we got.
Every end of the year since 2016, millions of Spotify users share with the world their Spotify Wrapped data, which includes their most streamed songs and artists. But Spotify Wrapped is not only for users, it's also for artists. So along with your own personalized Spotify data, Spotify releases the platform's data with its most streamed songs and artists. This helps the artists increase their reputations and popularity even more, since they can reassure music critics and the general public that they are successful artists. They can get media coverage even without a new release. They can get the attention of new listeners, and they can even increase their streams, since Spotify creates playlists with the most popular songs of the most popular artists. But what if I told you that this data is not the most accurate data? If you go to the hashtag Spotify Corrupt, you will see different users jumping on the trend, but it was all started by BTS's fandom ARMY. This is because Spotify has had a weird relationship with BTS since the group entered the global music market in 2017, and 2022 was not the exception. In Spotify's year-end charts, BTS was the 5th most streamed artist, but they were completely left out of Spotify's Artist of the Year playlist, giving their number 5 position to Ed Sheeran. 2022 was also the year when the BTS members started releasing official solo projects. Spotify announced that Jungkook when the BTS members started releasing official solo.
Oh, my boy Jungkook got a what's it called? He got an album. Yeah, I can't wait to get into the vocalist. But that Jack in the Box so far is fire. Indigo though, boy need to be nominated for a Grammy on that one. I don't know if he's gonna submit, but he needs to, and he needs to spend the next. Oh fuck! It's far too. It's not. It's too late. He needed to be in Los Angeles by the last week of November, so he could go to like all the fucking Grammy parties from November until they announce. That's how he would finesse a Grammy. But it deserves a nomination, hands down. Like, if he doesn't get a nomination, they're just fucking haters.
Projects. Spotify announced that Jungkook, who had a collaboration with Charlie Puth and who sang the World Cup official song, became the most streamed K-pop soloist. But Spotify, without any explanation, apparently changed their minds last minute and named the second position as the most streamed K-pop soloist. This is when armies started the hashtag Spotify Corrupt, because although Spotify promises that this was just a mistake, years of evidence indicate that Spotify's executives favor certain artists, especially.
They're the worst cunts. It's a phrase from Scotland. Learn it. The worst cunts. These are the worst cunts. These executives, not the artists, these executives that work for Spotify and these streaming platforms are the worst cunts. The worst cunts. They're worse than fucking radio DJs. I hate them more.
The ones signed to Interscope Records.
The pop star's Good For You sitting at the top of Spotify's most streamed songs of the summer list, along with 7 of her other songs.
The American music label Interscope Records is a division of Universal Music Group, or UMG.
That's called an imprint. These are all imprint record labels under Universal.
The biggest music company in the world. Interscope's last CFO and EVP was Jeremy Ehrlich, who served these positions from April 2016 to March 2019. Billie Eilish signed to Interscope just months after he became CFO in 2016. And in 2019, just a couple of months after Billie Eilish released her debut album, Jeremy left Interscope and became Spotify's head of music strategy. That year, Billie Eilish became one of the most streamed artists on Spotify. The same thing happened in 2021. Olivia Rodrigo signed to Interscope Records before releasing her debut album in 2021, and Spotify promoted that album like crazy. Spotify sent emails to its users offering limited edition cassettes for the ones who streamed her album the most. Spotify organized and promoted a free car wash with the album's theme, and even Jeremy himself was telling the New York Times how he didn't expect for Olivia's album to have so many streams on Spotify. That year,
Promote
Olivia
the hell out
Rodrigo's
of it. Why
debut
wouldn't
album became Spotify's most streamed album of the year. Now back to BTS. A year after BTS's popularity exploded in America, Jeremy Ehrlich signed his K-pop girl group to Interscope when he was still the CFO at the label. He promised the group's Korean company executives to make these girls the biggest band in the world, but that title is held by BTS. And after them is Imagine Dragons, and after them is Coldplay, and after them is Maroon 5, and then is Arctic Monkeys, and then is Queen, and
Wait. I guess they're a boy band. But are they a boy band? I don't even know what to class BTS. I don't even know if I like technically they're a boy band, but I didn't even really think about it. Fuck. It's like a male R&B rap group. That's like a boy band though, but like they're not like your quintessential boy band. I'm very confused at this. And I didn't think I'd become very confused at this because I'm just like, the reason it's caused such confusion is I'm like, BTS is sharing a list with Imagine Dragon, Coldplay, Maroon 5, Arctic Monkeys, and Queen. That's fucking mad. What? That's crazy. And I guess these boys do play instruments, so technically they're like a real band. I'm so confused.
then is One Direction, and then is The Neighborhood, and then is The Beatles, and then, finally, is Jeremy Ehrlich's favorite group. But BTS are not only the biggest group of 2022, they are also the 5th biggest artist of 2022. And this is something that historically has been very hard to achieve, because soloists have always been more popular than groups. This is why BTS being number 5 is even a bigger achievement than you can think, because the second biggest group, Imagine Dragons, is estimated to be around the 40th position in the overall artist charts. And I don't even know if we can trust Spotify saying that Imagine Dragons surpasses Coldplay as the second biggest group, because Imagine Dragons are also signed to Interscope, and if you're from Interscope, Spotify loves you. Like I said, Spotify releases a chart every year with the most streamed songs and artists, and along with them, they also release playlists that reflect these charts, so you can easily listen to the most popular artists of the year. However, this year, Spotify didn't include BTS on their top artists of 2022 playlist, and the 5th position was given to Ed Sheeran. Of course, armies were going to notice this, so Spotify created another playlist only for groups. This doesn't affect the other groups because, like I said, it's very hard for groups to compete against soloists, and they barely are on the top artist charts. But this affects BTS because they are on the top 5. This is the first year Spotify has ever separated the artist playlist into a soloist playlist and a group playlist. So Spotify doesn't want BTS to be recognized as one of the platform's most popular artists because it doesn't benefit them, allegedly. This is even more obvious by the fact that if Spotify wanted to divide their playlist into soloists and groups, these playlists...
I think the only current thing I take issue with how she frames her argument is the does it benefit them argument, because not every person that's at the top, like Drake being a top artist, even granted he's not on this list, well, he's there, he's what, 4 on top solo artist, like Drake being on that list doesn't benefit them. Like Taylor Swift doesn't benefit them, The Weeknd doesn't benefit them, Ed Sheeran doesn't benefit them. Like, it's not necessarily a benefit versus who's really giving me money. And in this system of what Spotify is, it's again just not even just Interscope and them. It's more so when Spotify first started, like a couple years after that, they had to sign a deal with all the major record labels, or the major record labels were going to just destroy Spotify. So there's a percentage stake of each record label that has ownership stake in Spotify. So that's why I'm like, the argument of does it benefit them doesn't matter anymore. I'm already in bed with every record label. I'm already poisoned. Like, I'm a tainted system already because there's a conflict of interest. You can't have ownership stake and also be trying to push artists to the top on these digital platforms and try and make them popular to the public. That's why I'm just like, it's not benefit. It's more so who's up next or what do we want to have happen. I was talking to somebody in the comments on Patreon and they were saying, no, it's on YouTube, and they were saying, like Top 40 Radio brainwashes you. The same with streaming platforms. Like if you were to go to my Spotify, my Spotify probably thinks I'm a blonde-haired white girl because that's what type of music they give me on Spotify. I like those vibes. I be in a Forever 21, like that's a fire song. Pull it up on Spotify, like that's just what happens. So that's what happens on Spotify. But then my Apple Music, they must think I'm some like 45-year-old black man from New York because all I do is get super lyrical rap on Apple Music. So it's again, the system is messed up how they have it, and every record label owns a piece of what Spotify is. So it's not a benefit system anymore. It's more so who's up. What are we trying to have the populace or people think is very popular and be the thing that we want out there? Is BTS something that they want to have out there and be as popular as everything else? I would currently say no, but that's again just because there is a cultural wave that comes with making BTS like very popular in America versus like number one popular in America. And that just comes down to what I was saying in my BTS versus the radio. Unless it's made for us, we're really not trying to make it big. Just like any foreign Korean films that come over here, it's not the sub version that blew up when it came to Squid Games. It was the dub version. Do a lot of people still watch the sub version? Sure, but it's the dubbed version. Like it has to be manipulated for the market that it's coming to, which is America. Otherwise, they're gonna do everything they can to keep it either down or out, and that's more so what I think is happening. Versus it doesn't benefit me because I still make money off of BTS and all those streams. So I don't care who's actually at one, but is me utilizing the number one position to help create the illusion and the smoke and mirrors of what the American music industry does, sure, that's far more beneficial. That's why I say it's not like just, it doesn't benefit them to have BTS at the top. It really doesn't matter. It's just more so the narrative I'm trying to push at the time is more important than giving BTS their just due and actually giving them the ranking that they should have.
Should be called Top Soloist of 2022, not Top Artist. This is not only a misleading title, but it also seems like a very funny change to make in 2022, right Jeremy? Because Spotify has always included groups in their Top Artist playlist. With this, Spotify is just hiding BTS in strategic ways, but they are not necessarily lying. They are not denying the fact that BTS is number 5.
I'd also like to point out the narrative for 2022 at the time is Bad Bunny is the current biggest North American artist working. That's the guy that's winning right now. Or, yeah, that's where I would say why they're making these changes. It's not to disregard BTS. It kind of is, but it's more important for them to push the narrative of Bad Bunny and his music than anybody else. But then when I go ask people, are they listening to Bad Bunny? No, they're fucking not. Now, is he doing crazy numbers online? Sure. Can he sell out shows? Sure. But am I actually, I've been in the club at least 4 to 5 nights a week for like the past 2 3 months. Never heard a Bad Bunny song since I've been here. Granted, I'm in Scotland currently, but the music that I've been hearing, I've heard every person on this list except them. So this is why I'm like, I don't know. I don't know.
Just don't want people to know about it. They are not lying, they are just misleading listeners. This was until Spotify took the title of the most streamed K-pop soloist away from Jungkook to give it to one of Jeremy's K-pop girls. Despite not releasing a debut album, Jungkook of BTS is the most streamed K-pop soloist of 2022, achieving this with only 3 songs. However, 24 hours after this announcement, Spotify named one of Jeremy's K-pop girls as the most streamed K-pop soloist of 2022, making media outlets delete the reports as the most.
Is it just me? But on her cover and on her Today Top Hits, they make her look like a white woman. Like, isn't she supposed to be an Asian woman? I'm just checking. I don't actually know the group. I don't know any of the members' nationalities. I'm just making assumptions. But I believe that is an Asian woman in the middle of the screen. But that does not look like an Asian woman on either side of my screen, though. That's why I'm saying this.
most streamed K-pop soloist of 2022, making media outlets delete the reports on the list and change them to this instead. But there was no explanation as to why this happened. Fans of these K-pop girls tried to give the excuse that Spotify decided to not count collaborations as the artist's songs. So all the streams for Left and Right, Charlie Puth's collaboration with Jungkook, were not supposed to be counted, and that's why they changed the results. However, if collaborations were not counted, then the most streamed K-pop soloist of 2022 should be J-Hope of BTS, who released Jack in a Box, an album
Quality
with no
project
features.
so far.
In any case, collaborations or not, a BTS member should have the title of the most streamed K-pop soloist, not this girl. So after Spotify Corrupt trended for hours on Twitter, Spotify changed the list once again, giving Jungkook the title of the most streamed K-pop soloist. Spotify then tweeted from their K-pop account, "Every year we endeavor to accurately reflect consumption around the world." In reference to our top K-pop artists of 2022 playlist, multiple genre tags led to slightly different top 10 lists, and they were not properly merged. This mistake has been corrected. We join the fans in celebrating the many achievements of BTS and regret this error. But this tweet doesn't really answer anything. If this was a true honest error, if this was truly a mistake while merging genres, why were BTS the only ones affected? Why did the rest of the K-pop list remain the same? Why did you decide this year, for the first time ever, to exclude groups like BTS from the top artist playlist? Why did you include BTS only on playlists where they can be seen next to Jeremy's favorite group? But this is just one of the many times in which Spotify has been acting weird with BTS on the platform. From ridiculous filtering of streams, cutting BTS's numbers almost in half, to leaking BTS's songs on their own platform. Spotify is known for sabotaging artists who refuse to
What? They had. Now, I have to say, this is active collusion and fucking corruption. What the fuck? How is that even fucking possible that you release a song early? Motherfucker, I told you what. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever released a song, especially like on a DSP. Fucking Spotify, all these folks. You literally can tell them the exact fucking time, and based off of whether or not it is on an Eastern time release or if you want it to come out on the particular time in each person's country at that time. So I could set it for whenever it turns 6 p.m. on the 23rd of January at X time, it will fucking release in everybody's country. Or I could tell it to do 6 p.m. in everybody's country whenever it turns to 6 p.m. in your particular country or region. How the hell did they leak this boy's song? How does this even happen? Like, this is where I'm like, oh, this is the American in me. We are a very litigious nation. I'm suing the fuck out of somebody for this. This is a massive amount of money and promotional revenue lost due to this mistake. I need these funds recouped. I will get them back out of fucking Spotify. I'm suing the shit out of your ass.
to play their game. If you're not a BTS fan, you may be thinking, why should I care about any of this? Why should I care about some dumb K-pop fan war? Why should I care that some big corrupt label is stealing the #1 position from another big corrupt label? If you're not familiar with BTS and their story, it may be hard to believe, but BTS are not from one of these big music corporations. They are actually independent artists, and this is why they've been recognized as some of the biggest independent artists in the music industry. But like any other
independent artist. At the time, I asked the question. At the time of when Big Hit put these boys together, were they like the record label? Wow, you guys probably won't even know. So was Big Hit not a major record label at the time of the construction of BTS, and then they have gained all notoriety and success from putting this group together and like the maturation of this product that they've put out to the world? If so, I let the boys have it, because this is one of the largest independent outfits I've ever fucking seen in the commercial music industry. If so, if Big Hit was a squandering or a sinking ship of a potential major record label that just was not that well known, but they had the financial, we'll say, bank accounts of a top 10 record label. Well, then I would consider them to be a major record label that finally got their first hit. So that'd be like uh, Capitol Records when they first came out, Interscope when they first came out, and they were putting out Dr. Dre and Eminem and all that stuff at that time, like the first run, or Top Dog. Top Dog Entertainment with Kendrick Lamar. I would consider them to be an independent record label, despite being now rolled into being an imprint under Interscope and having a large, we'll say, commercial music arm to kind of work with to help push Kendrick Lamar. That's still kind of a independent record label. So this is why I'm like, independent. That's mad to me. Like, what? But if Big Hit was like really like just some guys in a room and we got some money and we're gonna put together a group, but we understand what needs to happen. But this is one of the biggest independent musical successes I've ever fucking heard of in my life. I literally could not come up with another comparable one. Closest one I would have would be a rapper named Tech Nine, and I'm sorry, I love Tech Nine. Tech Nine ain't even scratching the surface of what these boys is doing, and there's 7 of them. Like, what the fuck?
Independent artists, when they become too big for their small management to handle, they ask for help from
I'm not tripping. J-Hope is all the way to the left. Does RM in the middle. Sugar's directly over RM's left shoulder. Is that Handsome Worldwide all the way to the right? V is behind Jimin, and I can't see Jungkook behind RM. Did I get everybody correct in their position?
a big American label to distribute their albums. This is why BTS has a distribution deal with the American label Geffen Records, but they are
And that is why I would say they are not fucking independent. The same reason why I would not fully give Kendrick Lamar and Top Dog Entertainment independent record label. Your distribution arm and your business influence or overlap of, we'll say, logistics and everything else that it requires a major commercial record label to run, you now have access to it through distribution. Are you still controlling all of your artistic ideas, your release dates, and all of that? Surely. But now, Geffen Records has a vested stake in your financial success of distributing your music. So if you need to get your music into another market, Geffen Records will help with that. If you need more money to do a thing now, to make sure that music gets done, Geffen Records will help with that. A true independent outfit does not have a major label, musical arm, or budget. So this is where we'll use Chance the Rapper as an example. Chance the Rapper, when he came out and he got his Grammy, that album was sold under the guise of it being independent. Really, he got $3 million from Apple Music up front, and then Apple Music had a financially vested stake in making sure that album did very well, and it did fucking amazing. It did so well, he had what? He not only had all the streams and was everywhere, but he also won a Grammy that year. It's because he had access to a machine that was going to work in their like stead. And this is where I'm like independent to a point, but a record fucking distribution deal with Geffen, Jesus Christ, that's the record label that fucking Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, like massive stars, fucking. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous the names that were on the roster of Geffen Record at one point.
only signed to Hive, a Korean music label with the American label Geffen Records, but they are only signed to Hive, a Korean music label which BTS basically helped build from scratch. This is also Bad Bunny's story. He is signed to his own Puerto Rican label, but has a distribution deal with one of Sony's music companies.
Difference
On
with this
Puerto Rican label, but
is the Orchard is not actually a record label. They're actually a publishing house. So they are the most effective arm of what record labels would like to have, which is a publisher is the person who makes sure your music is moving. So we're not particularly concerned with radio, but we take care of radio when we come to a publisher. But a publisher is the person that makes sure I show up in TV commercials, movies, fucking jingle spots. There was like a thing back in the day where like they had little things you could put in a little device and it would play the song. Like anything that we can use a third party product with your music in, We're putting it there, and we're making sure that we make as much money off of that as possible. Now, this is a far more lucrative deal than having a straight up distribution deal, because the most, we'll say, lucrative distribution deal that I've ever heard of is going to be Birdman's Cash Money Records with Universal Records. He has an 85-15 percent split with them, where Cash Money Records gets 85% of all profits generated off of the music. So with Orchard and Bad Bunny and having a publisher be your distributor, this deal is so much more beneficial, because he possibly could have an 85-15 split with Orchard, because we're already set up and streamlined to maximize all the money we can get out of your music, and we're not bloated with all the other departments and stuff that an actual major record label would have. So being on an independent with a streamlined publisher with a really good distribution split, but no wonder my man's out here making so much money. But that is the difference between Geffen and The Orchard. That's a publishing company. Geffen Records is a traditional American record label
that has a distribution deal with one of Sony's music companies. All these American companies do is distribute their albums in America, but since the artists are not signed to the label,
it's not just in America, it's the entire fucking world. There's an exclusivity of distribution with Geffen and Orchard on both of these artists' accounts. Why it works like that is because these companies also own other companies in other, we'll say, countries and regions. So Geffen Records has a imprint or a subsidiary business in Europe, Asia, the South Pacific, fucking wherever else in the world that Geffen isn't in America. They've got another business that they own that facilitates distribution locally, because the laws and everything change in everybody else's country. But these two companies handle distribution worldwide. It's just not in America.
the executives only give this type of heavy promotion to their signed artists. So when it comes to artistic liberties and promotions, BTS and Bad Bunny are basically on their own. This is why it feels even more wrong that these big
No. It's not basically they're on their own. If I was making good money with you last week and now you need money to help market your next record, I'm giving it to you because I can recoup it off of the music that you'll give me that I will send out into the world. That is why this is, again, a very precarious way to frame the relationship of having just a distribution deal, because it's not just a distribution deal. It's a power deal, essentially. You can't mess up what it is that makes us what our fans like if we have this type of deal with you. But there is a convergence of finances and an overlap of help that happens when you have a distribution deal, especially when they are in small percentage points, because I now need to maximize as much as possible. There's 7 of these young men in a group, plus we have to pay Bang PD, whatever other people on staff. So there's at least 20 people in the BTS pot out of 100%. There's not a lot of money there, unless in these small percentages, we make millions of dollars. Another example would be why Drake still signs a 360 deal, because Drake gets to keep 75% of every fucking dollar he ever fucking makes off of anything in his music stuff. And then let's say there's 20 people that make Drake's fucking thing work. Well, there's only 25% left. 20 people splitting up 25% is not a lot of money or a lot of percentage, unless those small percentages generate millions of dollars, and they do. So this is why I'm saying that no, once we are in bed as just distribution, there's more help that is provided to these artists that other people are not getting. And when you are a big deal like BTS or other major artists, you're gonna get help. They're not just gonna let you flounder. I have too much money invested in this to just, it's whatever. I just put your music out. It's not that simple.
executives are taking BTS's achievements. If BTS were signed to Sony, for example, this would just be another nasty fight by UMG and Sony, but this is actually this K-pop group's American management, Interscope, along with Spotify's executives constantly trying to make this girl group look bigger than they are by associating them with BTS at all costs. allegedly. And this is not new. BTS has
I
been
like how you said
harmed by
allegedly.
Interscope and therefore Spotify for years. One of Interscope's signed artists, Olivia Rodrigo, was promoted in South Korea as
I
the
can't even
solo
really fuck with her
singer
stuff.
who's currently in a battle with BTS. And this K-pop girl group has always used BTS's name to create their own media play. But this year, they've been more shameless than ever. This K-pop group's management, label, Jeremy, or whoever the creates their media play, has been buying awards that were supposed to go to BTS in some American award shows. They have been pretending that their
American
not really
award shows
sold
are
out
shit.
arena concerts were part
Fucking
of a
terrible.
bigger tour than BTS's sold out stadium tours. They managed to get Times Magazine to name them
That's a
Entertainer
fire-ass
of the
picture,
Year
though.
when they are
Whoever the group is, regardless of that, just from an artistic standpoint, can we not say that's a really good fucking picture? That's a good picture. That's like classic, like if it's the 60s or 70s and like back when people were making like real good, like, oh, these are artists and we're taking pictures of the artists. That feels like one of those moments. That's, shout out to whoever took this picture. That's a good one.
are not the biggest group, the biggest K-pop group, and much less America's Entertainer of the Year. And most recently, of course, this whole Spotify fiasco happened. You've probably heard about Spotify's corruption or maybe even assumed it, because that's just how the music industry is. It destroys independent artists and it saturates the general public with artists from the same big three corporations. This is why when a song by the YouTuber
Philip
Corpse
DeFranco
became a mainstream song, everyone in the internet celebrated. It was a big win for independent artists because it proved that a technically small artist with no big label behind him defeated the big corrupt corporation that is Spotify.
Shout
It
out
appears
to
that even
Corpse's
without
husband.
a swell of mainstream adoption, his single will be passing 100 million streams soon. I think it really highlights the power dynamics have shifted so greatly.
But when artists like BTS do this time and time again, nobody talks about it because these
They're handsome
corporations
worldwide.
hide these artists' names as much as they can. This is why Corp's other songs didn't become mainstream again. And this allegedly hurts corporations like Spotify even more because BTS is a big name and they refuse to play the American industry's game. And this has cost them a lot. BTS has talked about this. They've confessed that they've received offers to fraudulently become bigger than what they are, but they keep refusing.
솔직히 더 큰 데도 갈 수 있었고 기회도 얻었고
부정적인 방법도 좋지만 조금 더 정직한 방법으로
Talk
좋은
that shit,
음악을
my boy.
만드는 게 어떨까요? 모두 다 좋은 음악을 하고 좋은 음악을 듣는 그런 시대가 왔으면 좋겠습니다.
And I've talked about these
Too many snakes out
manipulation
here, though, blood.
tactics before. BTS are known in the industry for refusing to play for radio play and for American awards.
Yeah, don't do that shit. The only award system I want them to participate in, because it costs them nothing besides time and shaking hands and just being the guys that they are, is they could get a Grammy so easy if they really spent 6 months in LA and went to all the Grammy selection parties prior. I'm telling you, them boys would get a Grammy because it's really going to parties. I've seen it at least 4 times. That is exactly why Macklemore won his fucking Grammy over Kendrick Lamar in that year, because Macklemore was fucking hanging out. When it was time for me to go home as a voting member of Grammy, I didn't see Kendrick that night. I surely did go home and listen to motherfucking Thrift Shop fucking 50 times while I was drunk on some fucking drug-addled night. Now, that's not me personally. I've just seen these people operate directly in front of my eyes, and I've seen it. I've seen how many people don't get Grammys just because they're like, I'm not hanging out. Now, granted, should you have to hang out? No. But this is the only part of the system and game where I'm like, it's really not that bad. It's like going to radio back when radio meant something. I can go hang out with these people that make choices over who gets a Grammy for a couple of hours at a free party. I can definitely do this. This is the least soul-crushing version of participation in the game I am okay with. But then I hate the system past that, where it's like, well, if you don't go to the party, you can't get no Grammy. And I'm like, you're a dickhead. You're out here giving Grammys away when there's better music. It's just, it's frustrating.
My conclusion to all of this may not feel gratifying. I see many armies and music fans saying, let's just sabotage Spotify. Let's not listen to any artist there. But that may do more harm than good, because
No, it
Spotify
won't.
is the music industry, and not supporting
it's
independent
not.
artists would only empower
and it's statements like this on why we still have a participation in the system that could be easily broken. Yes, you hurt these artists, but you really don't, because their lifestyles and incomes are not based on streaming money. Not at all, especially with how you guys have met me with, we buy physicals. Well, if you're buying physicals, boycotting Spotify actually does fuck all to these people. They really don't care. We will recoup. You guys would happily pay an extra $3 on a live show ticket and stop listening to Spotify to support these boys more directly. This is why I say that continually pushing the narrative that Spotify or any digital streaming platform is the music industry. It is not. It is just a tool within it. The music business has never changed from its inception. I create music that gets you into a room, that allows me to sell you merch and also allows me to sell you a ticket to enter said room and any other auxiliary products I can that are physically here. The business is get you from your house into a box where I can sell you things. That is the most simplest explanation of the actual music business. Spotify only helps facilitate one part of that, giving you the music so it moves you from your house into this box where I sell you things. That is why it is not the industry. That's why Corpse's husband was able to do what he's able to do. This is why BTS, despite not having all the placements and everything they should on Billboard or any of these other things, are the biggest group in the fucking world, is because the music business is get you from point A to point B back to point A. And in the middle of that, I will sell you things in a room on a certain day and you will give me good money for that time. That is the business.
Power these corporations even more. The truth is that the present and future of music is streaming, and sabotaging
No, it is
Spotify
not.
would only
It's live fucking performances and physical media. It is literally statistically being proven that the fact that vinyls are outselling CDs and people are starting to buy tape cassettes at the same rate they buy CDs, and we are in a digital era. Physical products and shows are the future and will forever remain to be what the music industry is. Allowing these type of narratives to be the things that push things are wrong, especially if you're a part of the army. You have to know, ain't no way that streaming is the biggest way that you listen to these people. Is it the easiest way? Sure. But aren't you buying t-shirts, any other auxiliary things? These boys have mobile games and stuff that are free, but they probably have things you can buy within the mobile game. Like, there's so many auxiliary systems that they're using that, no, digital streaming just makes listening to music easier, but it will never be what the music industry is unless we allow people to brainwash everybody to think that digital streaming is what it is, and it's not. Selling you a show ticket and seeing me live will forever be the business until until the end of time.
hide BTS even more. Spotify has so many corruption problems, but so
Yes, they
does
do.
YouTube, the
Yes,
Grammys,
they do.
and most music
Yes, they
institutions.
do.
So I think the best way in
Talk
which
your shit,
fandoms can
boy.
protest such corporations is to shame them on social media, while also supporting independent
And
artists.
boycott.
In the case of BTS, ARMY's strategy has been the same for years, making BTS so big that it's impossible to deny them a spot on this list. At the end of the day,
Facts.
these K-pop groups image as this big worldwide
There's empty seats. That's all I'm
artists
saying.
are simply that, an image. Extreme media play and promotion can only get you so far. Olivia Rodrigo also had connections with Spotify, and that helped
How
her
the
music
fuck does her
career
own
to
3 Grammys? I'll
skyrocket,
never know.
allegedly. But this effect is not happening with this girl group. The media play is not working, and this is mainly because BTS's fandom won't let it happen. So speak up, it works. And don't forget to stream your favorite artists.
I also would like to say that these girl groups, or Olivia Rodrigo, they're winning and they're able to do something that BTS is not doing. BTS makes music that is heartfelt and actually has a message. I would assume, because I've not actually heard anybody bring me Blackpink's music or Olivia Rodrigo's music, they're just making standard typical American pop tunes. Like, they're just making radio records, and making radio records is not going to be the formula, especially if you want to compete against the BTS, because BTS are making radio records, but the motherfuckers is saying something. Those are radio records that have a message. Those are radio records that are impactful. Those are radio records that people 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now. They're going to put a BTS song on and be like, God damn, this is amazing. Versus 15 years from now, unless you're a core fan of Olivia Rodrigo, you're not going to just stumble onto her records and be like, oh my God, it's good music. Why? Because she's just making stuff that works for right now, that works for the radio, so we can maximize as much money as we can out of her while she's still in her young, youthful phase of being a female pop star. It's just the system. I think that is the biggest driving force of what allows BTS to compete against these people is they are making commercially viable music, but it has such an impact and message to it that allows it to cut actually into people versus being music that people just hear. Because I hear a lot of music, but I'm not taking the time to go down anybody's rabbit hole unless they've got really good music and they make stuff that is really good lyrically. Otherwise, I could go listen to 30,000 other groups. Like, what is it? We're like 20 million songs will be uploaded to Spotify by the end of January. Like, there's for sure enough music for me to go listen to. But who's making music that's going to be something that I'm going to be interested and intrigued to want to actually look into and learn about? Can't say that about a lot of people in that 20 million. That's just facts. That was a slap though. RM's little accent on top of when he says things, I find it very comical because I'm like, I can hear your accent. I normally can't hear people's accents, so I find it funny because I'm just like, I can hear it, and then I hear like the overlap of, oh, you know how to speak English now. So sometimes you say things with a certain inflection that possibly wouldn't have been there without you picking up this extra language. That being said, though, that's going to be it for this one. Thank you guys very much for your time. Can't wait to have a discussion with you guys in the comment sections. I wonder what you guys are going to say about what I've had to say. That being said, again, thank you very much for your time. If you could please hit that like, subscribe. Patreon is in the description box if you would like to have earlier exclusive access to any of the stuff I have going on over there. That being said, thank you. I'm out of here. See you guys on the next one. Peace.